Young and dumb Court was like, hey, why not do a bodybuilding comp? So I found a coach and I went straight into a comp prep and did my first ICN show. I didn't mind it, but I knew there was bigger and better things out there. So I competed first with the WBFF it would have been 2021. I was 19. I placed third in that first show, and holy, that was a really cool experience. The year later, 2022, I competed again. I had put so much pressure on myself. It was great to place third again, and I was chuffed with that because the top three placing is absolutely unreal. But putting that pressure on yourself to try and place higher, second or first, I don't know how to explain it. I was obviously so happy with the placing, but you always want to improve, and that's the main thing. And then coming into this show, I did not put any expectation on myself. I wanted to come in this show just stress-free and just enjoy it, and that brought me to taking out the pro title.
Welcome back to the Comp Closet podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Sarah Moore, and today I'm chatting with the impressive FMG Bikini Athletic Pro, Courtney Muscat. Courtney, welcome.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on. How did that feel having me call you a Bikini Athletic Pro?
It's so weird. Often you kind of forget about it, and then you're like, when someone says, "Oh, Bikini Athletic Pro," you're like, "Oh wow, no, I actually did do that." And I think I've got to remind myself that I've been chasing at least the pro status for a long time. And then when someone actually says, "Oh, Bikini Athletic Pro," I'm like, "Oh wow, I actually did do that." So no, it is exciting, and I think I often kind of forget that it is a great achievement, and I've got to appreciate that. So it is cool. I love it. It's so good.
Yeah, it really is. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and kind of your fitness journey leading up to your last show?
So essentially, I started competing. I actually did a show with the ICN before the former FMG. Um, to be honest, it all kind of started around probably just before COVID, or during COVID, I want to say. I was studying a little bit, and then I ended up wanting to do my certs 3 and 4 in fitness. And I'm a big learner through going through things myself. And young and dumb Court was like, hey, why not do a bodybuilding comp? So I found a coach and I went straight into a comp prep and did my first ICN show. I didn't mind it, but I knew there was bigger and better things out there. And that's when I fell upon the former FMG, WBFF. And I knew that was kind of for me. I loved the whole how they ran the shows. It was you go through a prep and what you go through, and the day of the show, it's pretty much everything. You work so hard for this day, and the shows ran quite nicely here in Australia. So that was really nice. So I competed first with the WBFF I think it was 2021. Yeah, it would have been 2021. I was 19 because I knew I couldn't do it the first time I wanted to compete with. Originally, I wasn't old enough to compete with the federation. So that's why I did the ICN to start off with. And then I did a prep, and it got cancelled 3 weeks before the show. So that was, that was really tough. But I had high hopes. I was like, that's fine. I would just come out, reverse back out, and then go to the next one. And then that got called, cancelled quite far in advance. So then that brought us to 2021, where I did my first one. I placed third in that first show, and holy, that was a really cool experience because obviously everything, when you experience the WBFF, it was, it's quite a hard lineup. So to place third in my first, my debut was just incredible. It was a really great feeling. And then I think from there, that kind of was right, Court, let's actually do this. Then the year later, 2022, I competed again. Obviously, placing third, I had put so much pressure on myself. And I think that pressure kind of led to, it was great to place third again. And I was chuffed with that because the top three placing is absolutely unreal. But putting that pressure on yourself to try and place higher, second or first, it did really, I don't know how to explain it. I was obviously so happy with the placing, but you always want to improve, and that's the main thing. But obviously, somebody else, 2 other people on the day were just that bit better. And then coming into this show, I did not put any expectation on myself. I think that was the main difference. I was so cool, calm, collected leading into the show, and I was obviously really excited about the new category. I honestly didn't really know where I would fit. But yeah, then we came into the show, and yeah, it was a different experience. Yeah, I want to say I was just, yeah, cool, calm, collected. And I think having experience putting so much pressure on myself in the year before, I wanted to come in the show just stress free and just enjoy it. And I think that kind of like really made a big difference as well. So yeah, and then that brought me to taking out the pro title.
Yeah, what an incredible journey. Like all those shows, and you must have learnt so much from each show.
Oh God, yeah, 100%.
How have your off season and preps kind of changed with each show that you've done?
So with the first one, you could say that like the prep before the my initial show, that was that off season was a great off season. I think because like we were through COVID, to be honest, all I could do was train, and I was super fortunate that I had access to equipment, so I could literally train. All I did was train, eat, go through it again, and then I came into I came into really cool like good condition for that first show in 2021. In the off season, in the next show, I did a bit of a strength phase, a strength block. I like to kind of shift focus after show and kind of pull away from aesthetics. Obviously, because it can be hard and quite challenging, your body is going to change. Like it's inevitable to change. So I think pulling that focus off into something else, still with training side of things, but pour that energy into like a strength phase. And again, it taught me a lot of things as well, a little bit of education. So I worked with a different coach in that sense. So we did a big strength block, which was nice. Coming into show 2022, so last year, I probably wasn't as conditioned. We probably needed to start prep a little bit earlier. So then off season last year, I actually decided to take a trip to Europe. Um, and so that was kind of like an interrupted off season, but I like to find a balance between like social health, emotional health, and training. And I knew full well going into that European trip that training was going to be right down. And to be honest, I just accepted the fact that I probably actually wouldn't train. The whole idea was to go enjoy the food, enjoy everything, just move if I wanted to. Because that was super important to me. It was at a perfect time in my life. And in the back of my mind, I wasn't sure when my next show would be. I would just kind of see how my Europe trip would go. Funny enough, I actually broke my arm in Europe. I didn't know until I got home. So I broke it about 3 weeks into my trip, and I had 3 weeks left. I got home and my wrist was quite sore, and I was like, oh, like I'll just get an X-ray, just to be sure. And I actually, yeah, found out it was broken, and the bone that I broke, it's called the scaphoid. It doesn't have a lot of blood flow, so I ended up being in a cast for about 15 weeks, which was an insane amount of time, especially like when in the back of my mind, I was like, oh no, like where's competing for that? When I got back, to be honest, before I knew it was broken, I had in my mind potentially doing the October show that year. But I think getting back, I was like, not a great idea. My body's been through a lot. I competed in April. I've been away overseas, and then going back into a prep. It's just not the best kind of way to go about things, especially for the body. So, and it was actually a really good decision because I actually didn't have my cast off before that show would have been. So it's a blessing in disguise in that way. But honestly, it actually gave me opportunity just to train hard in lower body. I altered things. I couldn't do a lot of upper body, obviously, but yeah, I just pushed hard. Lower body sessions, recovery was super important then as well. So yeah, that kind of brought me into that kind of off season, and then I think I got it off in about mid-November, so that gave me like kind of 6 weeks to kind of regrow in the upper body, or just kind of see what we could do with the upper body. And then yeah, and then I started my prep for this show in Jan. So luckily, it didn't really cause any grief, but yeah, that's kind of how my off seasons have been. So yeah,
What a wild ride. And I feel like
literally.
it's something that so many competitors deal with is the struggle with like balance with holidays and injuries and things interfering with their competitive career, I guess, or their competitive goals. I know it's something I struggle with personally. So what advice would you give to someone that is struggling with, guilt about going on holiday or getting injured?
Well, I think the first one, let's touch on the holiday side of things. So often, I kind of like to, and something that I tell my clients as well is in life, we kind of have different pillars. So we have life, we have social, we have work, and we have training. They can't all be top tier. If they're all top tier, we're going to burn out. And essentially, things will be kind of up and down. Sometimes work will be a lot higher, sometimes training, sometimes social. I think in a prep, obviously, your training's going to be up here, and social maybe a little bit down here, and it might be up here, but something has to give. With holidays and things like that, the biggest thing that I like to kind of look at first is accepting the fact that, you know what, training may not be there, but what is the purpose of the holiday? So I think I come back to awareness and purpose. Super important to say, okay, what is the purpose of the holiday? Are you there to, do you want to train on the holiday? If so, then that's fine, but just as long as it doesn't take away from the main purpose. So my purpose going away to Europe last year was immerse in the culture. I didn't want to spend all that money to not immerse in the culture. To just enjoy it. Accept the fact that I may put on body fat, and that was okay. I think so. Accepting the fact that it was okay to put on body fat kind of decrease that expectation of, oh, you've got to stay lean and things like that. But in saying that, I think it also did help that I had some nutrition knowledge behind me. So coming back to meals of like, okay, when I was going out, which meals I wanted to indulge in, what meals I could control. So if we were going out and there was like protein and plant options and I didn't feel like indulging, then I could stick to like more nutritious options, but then indulge when I wanted to. I love gelato. So for me, like a gelato every day or every second day was like key. Like it was like, it's so great. That's the culture of Europe, like immersing in gelato, immersing in like things like that. So something like that was super important to me. So I wanted to make sure that I could have those things. And it's, yeah, it just comes back to purpose and acceptance.
Yeah, amazing. I love that advice. So, going back to your preps,
hmm
other than putting a bit less pressure on yourself to actually win and improve your placings, what changed between your previous preps and your last prep where you won your pro card?
I think we went actually, the biggest change we did this time round was we went a little bit harder at the start initially. And honestly, at the start, I was like, "Oh my god, this is rough." I was like, "How am I gonna do this?" And I think with any kind of change or new routine or anything, it's hard. Like everybody hates change. We all like the same thing. It's like safe to continue doing the same thing. So when I had like a really big decrease in calories and a really big increase in output, I was like, "Shit, how like how am I gonna fit in the time to do this?" But honestly, once like I had done it for like a week or two, I just restructured my routine. It became kind of second nature. So that was kind of like obviously the first initial shock. But we went into it, we did it, I got it done, and then it just kind of became routine. And I think that kind of pretty much stayed the same quite consistently. We had small changes here and there, which was fine. Obviously, when you're decreasing body weight, you've got to, something has to give or take here and there. But we went hard at the start, and I am so grateful that we did because that meant, to be honest, probably about 4 weeks out. I would, yeah, about at least, yeah, 3 to 4 weeks out, we had actually then decreased output, which was like so nice. Like it was so nice because that means I was coming into the show a lot more relaxed because my body wasn't stressed because we weren't doing a lot more output. And then, yeah, coming into show, calories were nice and high as well. So I think going hard at the start obviously can be difficult because it means you're maintaining a lower body fat percentage for a longer time, but it means coming into show, you can be relaxed because it does show if you're stressed, you will have inflammation. So it does show. So I think that was the major difference is, yeah, just being a little bit more relaxed coming into the show.
Yeah, amazing. And do you have any other tips for reducing stress if you're on comp prep or in a dieting phase?
It's a big one. I think people, have very different lives and people deal with stress very differently. So for me, compared to somebody else, can be very different. But I think the key thing is organization. So for myself, I had a wedding the week before my show, and it was actually a like an away wedding, so we had to travel for it. So that was in itself, going away during prep is difficult, but then a week before is like crazy. So I think the biggest thing is organization. I had just made sure that I communicated with my coach and I had all my meals and everything planned. I had planned what times I was going to train. I had to shuffle my training sessions around to make sure that obviously we had the wedding on the weekend. So I had to change my schedule around. It was peak week. So it's like, how are we going to fit things in? Meals were all over the place. It was a little bit different. But the key thing is, one, communicating with your coach, being upfront and honest, but just planning, making sure, like in my notes, I had planned what I was eating, what I needed to bring, like to-do list that I needed to pack, like a shopping list, things like that. And it just like that kind of, it probably took me maybe 30 minutes just to organize the week before. And that meant that leading into that weekend, I could be present at the wedding and I wasn't stressed. So organization and communication is key.
Yes, I couldn't agree with that more. Like, I think people that are organized on prep, hands down, do
Oh,
so much better because, when you're organizing beforehand, it means you're still going to tick all of those boxes. You're not going to be
yep,
stressed about it. And you're not going to make silly mistakes that you might make if you're not planning out your days and organizing your food. And, even if you're traveling, things like looking up where the nearest gyms are compared to your
yep.
accommodation and where you can get your
Literally, I did
groceries and
that.
like, yeah,
Yeah,
all of that helps
100%.
so much.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, yeah, just doing those things. And I think that was the biggest thing, literally just organization. It might take you 2 hours, but if it takes you 2 hours and can reduce the stress leading into it, then like, God, you'd be cheering. Like, stress is just like one thing that, yeah, we need to minimize it. One, whether you're in a prep or not, stress is one of those things that we kind of need to take into consideration, and anything that you can do to reduce stress is key. So yeah, organization definitely.
Yeah, for sure. And what's something that you've learned from competing that you can apply to other areas of your life?
It's actually funny. I was chatting to someone about this the other day. I was like, competing, obviously, like I think it teaches you so much in life. I think it definitely teaches you to be organized. For me, it teaches me what I value. Like this kind of like comes into something else as well, but I value quality time. And during a prep, sometimes it's hard. I find that I'm not super present because my mind is like super scattered into other areas, thinking, oh, I need to get this done and things like that. So I think it teaches you what you value, but I think it also teaches you like discipline. And obviously, that's like very like you have to be quite disciplined and rigid in some sense, but in a positive way. I think with life, I think it teaches you, if you have a goal, you can achieve it. Like if you put your mind to something, you can achieve it. Like whether it means a placing or not. Like a placing is just kind of like, at the end of the day, it's just a placing. But for you to get up on stage, that's an achievement. Like it teaches you that if you put your mind to something and you have goals and purpose, you can really achieve things. So coming back to the point of purpose again, like what's your purpose to get out and get up on stage, and amazing, like it teaches you to kind of always set that next thing. Yeah, like it definitely teaches you so much more in life. I like really can't think of what the conversation I had with somebody else the other day, but yeah, there's so much that competing does teach you that you can, yeah, kind of take into everyday life.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's for me like doing something so hard, and prep's only as hard as you make it, but it is like a long-term commitment. So then when
Yep.
other like little hard things come up in life, you kind of have that resilience that you've built up through prep, which I really love about it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point there too. Actually, my sister the other day, we were trying to figure out a word, and that kind of described. like kind of life, and how like being, and we kind of found the word disciplined, and yeah, like if you're disciplined, then you can achieve so much in life in general. So like whether that be work related, relationship related, things like that, it just, yeah, brings out a whole array of different things.
It's building trust in yourself as well. Like
Yeah,
when you start making these little commitments to yourself, like all these little habits that you have to tick off every single day in prep for, 16 or 20 weeks, the more you do that, the more trust you build in yourself. And then you kind of trust yourself
100%.
to achieve new goals as well, which is really incredible.
Yeah, that's a really great way to look at it.
Yeah. So you competed before in the bikini category, and then this
Hmm.
time you stood on stage in the bikini athletic category too and won your pro card. What are your
Yeah,
thoughts on the new category?
I love it. So to be honest, when last year, when everything, obviously previously competing with the WBFF, when things kind of happened at the middle of last year, I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my competing career. And then I heard rumors about a new federation starting, and I got really excited. And I was like, this is great, because like I've never competed overseas before, so the Australian shows I absolutely love. So when Pauline and Ari came out with FMG, I was like, this is unreal. And then they brought out Bikini Athletic. And I think for me, as soon as I found out that Bikini Athletic was a new category, as soon as it came out, I said to myself, I want to be the first pro, one of like the first pro of the new FMG federation. But how cool would it be to be the first FMG Bikini Athletic Pro? So the first one of the new category and the new show, like that would just be amazing. And I think like right now, just thinking about it and reflecting on it, I get a little bit of goosebumps, because I literally said to myself, I was like, I want that. I want to be the first one, and to take out the first category, that would be unreal. And I know I'm in the short category, so the first one to get called out as the new Bikini Athletic Pro. So oh god, I think, yeah, obviously to take out pro, but then to be the first one is just amazing. And I think it really gives competitors the opportunity to still train how they want to train, and not feel like they have to come in a little bit softer or detrain certain parts. But then it doesn't mean that they have to take a super long off season, if they are quite more conditioned or have fuller quads and glutes, that they have to move up to fitness. So honestly, I think it's great. Like it's so good, and I'm actually really excited to see the next few shows, like especially the pro shows, to see the girls who take out the first placings. I think it'd be really exciting to see, because I know a lot of girls who probably were thinking about moving into fitness but weren't quite sure, or the girls who were in bikini who were like, oh, I'm not sure if I actually really fit in this category. So I'm so excited, so excited. I think it's great.
Yes, it is very exciting. For someone who doesn't understand the criteria or they're kind of new to FMG, how would you explain bikini athletic?
To be honest, my kind of first initial thoughts is a bit like a mini fitness. So, mini fitness in the sense that you've got the condition, but not to the condition of like striations or things like that. So, obviously, the conditioning is a really, really big one. I think that's a really big thing that differs from bikini itself. Bit more conditioned, like not as soft, but then also the muscle mass as well. So, like nice capped delts and obviously full glutes as well. I actually got my feedback back from the judges, and I'd actually be happy to get it up and read it out for
Yeah.
everybody, actually. I think because a lot of people are still kind of trying to figure it out. So let me actually get it up.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Um,
And I'll drop your link to Instagram down below as well. So listeners
yeah,
can look up your comp photos as you're
definitely.
reading out your
Yeah.
feedback.
So essentially, the main kind of look was work on adding a little more outer sweep to quads and more hamstring curve from side on angles, and also a bit more calves. What else was there? Oh, could be a tiny bit tighter through the glutes and hamstrings. And then they recommended for pro stage, I would like to see a bit more size overall and a bit more cap to the shoulders. Yeah, so a bit more size overall and a bit more cap to the shoulders was pretty much summed up in my feedback. So I guess off season looks like that. So yeah, I guess it's like a bit of a mini fitness coming in. And to be honest, when I was getting leaner and leaner, I was my midsection was coming through, and I said to my coach, I was like, oh, I don't know how I'll go with bikini. Like my midsection is just popping that bit too much, and in my like eyes, I was like, oh, this kind of looks like mini fitness, and that's literally how I describe it. So yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that feedback. I think
No, of
that's
course.
so great that the judges give that feedback as well, especially for you now doing an off season. Obviously, for the pro stage, you know exactly what improvements you need to make,
Yeah.
and you can go train hard and get that done.
I know, I'm so excited. I'm like obviously excited for that, but then and yeah, to see who turns or who takes out the championship for on the next pro stage, which is exciting.
Yes, very exciting. What advice would you give to someone who's looking to compete for the first time?
I think the biggest actually someone asked me this the other day. I think the biggest thing would be make sure you have the habits prior to getting or starting your prep. And the habits that I mean is like meal prepping. Simple as that. Simple start with meal prepping. Do you have a routine with your training? Yes, those two things are all good and well, but then also, how's your mindset? I think a lot of people think, yes, I can get lean, I can get shredded, and yeah, to be honest, that is achievable. Anybody can do that. But the thing that goes through my head is, okay, what's post show going to be like? I think post show is kind of often it is talked about, but I think it should be more talked about before somebody goes into the competing scene. You want your post show experience to be positive. Like you will feel feelings of lows because you're coming up to an event and then it's kind of like all gone. But how's your mindset around food? Like, how do you view food and things like that? Definitely try and figure out, you don't want to be in this all or nothing mindset. The biggest thing for me is when I'm in prep, that means the dial is turned up. So essentially there's no on or off switch. It means the dial is turned up. I'm a little bit more diligent with food, and a little bit more rigid, but there still allows for flexibility, especially up to about 6 weeks, 6 to 4 weeks out is when things turn up even more. And then in the off season, they kind of come back down again. So I think it's more like, yeah, having those habits and obviously having it as a bit of a lifestyle, but also like really tuning into your mindset side of things. Also, another thing is how's your what do you call it? The people around you, your support network. How is your support network? Like your friends and family don't necessarily have to understand everything about bodybuilding, but they do have to understand that it is a period of time where you have to be quite diligent with food, but it's all for a purpose. I think it can be hard when people don't understand how it works, and they kind of look at you and be like, oh, like, why are you weighing everything? Why are you not eating everything that we're eating? Things like that. But then in saying that, also trying to have the knowledge as well of, okay, when we do have a social setting, how can I enjoy what everybody else is eating, but still reach my goals? I think that's a really important one as well. So, like, just as simple as if you're going out for a social setting, maybe trying to advise like friends or family, can we go to like for example, a pub is really easy, super easy to get steak and salad or steak and veg. That way you're not bringing your meal prep out to social settings, but you're still eating things that align with your goals. So I think kind of finding that happy medium there is super important as well, because you don't want to lose your social health. That's a big thing for me, is making sure that I can still go out with family and friends and just yeah make choices that align with my goals.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned earlier in our chat as well that quality time was really important to you. What other things, other than, you know, maybe a steak at the pub, do you do during prep for that quality time?
I think, yeah, obviously, like going out to places that I can eat at is super important. Again, coming back to organization to ensure that I've done my training, I've done my steps and things like that, so that on like Sundays and weekends, I'm not out there doing all my steps. So when steps are really, really high, I would make sure that I do my like a little bit more steps at the start of the week, so that on weekends my step target was lower, so that way I could spend more time with family. So other things that we do, like small walks, like that's a really easy one. Like try and get your friends and family kind of involved in what you're doing. If your family isn't super into like movement and things like that, it can be a little bit more difficult. But honestly, what's the harm in asking? Like a lot of the time my friends one of my really good friends doesn't understand anything about bodybuilding. But something just as simple as like a coffee date. Like it's super easy going out for a coffee date. Get a black coffee. Like if you still have room for milk in there, then get an almond latte or something just as simple as that. You don't have to stop everything. You can still do other things that still align with the goals. And yeah, so just yeah, little small things like that are super super easy.
And how do you balance overall health with the demands of prep?
To be honest, I make sure I get my bloods done. So at the start of prep, I got my bloods done, and I'm actually getting my bloods done tomorrow, actually. So that will be about just under 4 weeks post prep, just to see how things are going. So obviously, chatting with my coach and my GP. My GP is actually really, really good. So find yourself a GP who will allow you to get your bloods done. Sometimes it can be hard to get a full blood count, but it's super important to make sure that your coach understands the functional side of health as well, health and nutrition, not just simple as getting lean and then coming out of it. There's so many underlying things that can go on as well. So bloods is a really important one. It's super easy to have an overview. Like obviously we can go off like mood and energy and things like that, but if we can actually see things there in paper, it's super easy. So getting bloods done is really important. And then everything else, managing health, I think health is like an encompass of things. I always come back to more than just your physical health. Emotional health is important, social health is important. So, making sure that I am socializing with friends. Again, it can be a little bit isolating sometimes bodybuilding, but making sure that you are still socializing, still getting out and about, and then obviously doing things like self care and recovery. Recovery is a really big one. If I have a small little niggle, literally, even if it's like a 3 out of 10 pain, I will go and get it looked at because 9 times out of 10, that 3 out of 10 pain, you're probably just going to keep on pushing through and it's going to get to a 5, a 6, and then to a 10 and may prevent you from doing things. So just, yeah, go and get things seen as soon as possible. Find your local physio, chiro, or anyone like that that can help you just to have a little bit of a tune up, get some needling done, get a massage, things like that can really help. I've literally seen my physio so many times, and every time you see your physio, you learn something every new. Ask questions when you're there as well. I ask so many questions, so then I'm like, can be my own physio at times. Like if I have a small little niggle in my hip, it's like, oh, I've had that seen before. I know what to do. So keep on top of things, yeah. Rather than let it get to absolute max 10 out of 10, just get on top of it early.
Yes, that's so important. That's something I didn't do during my first prep. And like my back was so cooked by the
Yeah,
end of prep with all the posing and obviously the extra pressure on your body. And I had a little niggle and just got
100%.
worse and worse and worse. And I think a big tip there as well is, especially like in Australia, like get private health insurance that
Oh
has
my
good
God.
physio and massage and all of that because
Yeah,
you're basically going to be making money. Like,
yeah, it's true. Look, it can be expensive, but honestly, there is nothing more expensive than if you can't train, if you're not healthy. Like if your body is run down and you can't move, then that's not a quality of life that I want to live personally. Some people might want to, and that's completely fine. But yeah, private health insurance is super important just so you can, yeah, at least have some form of support when you do need to get those things done, like physio, like massage and things like that. Yeah.
yes, exactly. And obviously, you've got quite a lot of expertise from your work as a sports nutritionist, PT, and coach. How has that influenced your approach to comp prep?
Oh, it has made comp prep, in my opinion, a lot easier. I don't think you have to have like know everything about nutrition and everything, but having some form of background, whether you're learning through your coach, again, ask your coach questions. Why are you having that supplement? Why are you eating that? If you ask your questions, you're going to learn. And that's the biggest way of learning. That's how I learn a lot of my things. Obviously, I did courses and everything, but you learn a lot of things through experience and asking questions. It just helps you make like better choices without having to rely on somebody else as well. So like coming back to simple things like going out to the pub, you know that okay, on your meal plan you might have chicken, sweet potato, and side salad. Some people without the nutrition knowledge or awareness might feel like, oh, I have to eat what I make and I have to make it myself. Whereas you can actually go out to a pub and have those things. So, yeah, just having that background knowledge just makes things a little bit more stress free, I want to say. Yeah, stress free is probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, for sure. And I've noticed as well that you do a bit of CrossFit training too. How has that been, like balancing that with traditional bodybuilding training?
So it was a big important thing, like when I start my preps, to make sure that I do include some CrossFit training, mainly because I love the thrill of it. Like I train with my sisters, my cousins, or with at my like local CrossFit box. At the start, it's maintainable. So, like a lot of the time, we kind of include it as a either a bit of cardio, so as a cardio session, or I think I ended up having, I was doing 3 strength based sessions and then 2 CrossFit sessions initially. So we kind of just incorporate it because obviously you want to enjoy your training as well. Throughout my prep, there is what we call the CrossFit Open. So it's essentially for 3 weeks in about Feb or March, there are a different workout that we will complete. And then you kind of get ranked across everyone in the world. Obviously, for me, it's you need to be fueled for CrossFit training. To do well, you need to have adequate carbohydrates, adequate energy coming in. And for bodybuilding prep, it is kind of the reverse. You're in a deficit and things like that. But to be honest, I still did the open just to see where I ranked, just literally purely out of enjoyment. If you were new to CrossFit training, I wouldn't recommend it. But because I'd been doing it for a while, it was something that I still wanted to do. So we kept it in. Don't get me wrong, it was hard because I wasn't adequately fueled, so I didn't perform my best, but I was still happy. It was just fun to still do. However, coming towards the end, I would say in the last 4 to 6 weeks, it obviously got really challenging. CrossFit is quite a energy taxing sport, and with energy being really low from being in a deficit for like 14 plus weeks before that and not having energy around that time, it got really challenging. I was a lot slower. I dropped my weights had to drop down. So we normally have like standardized weights that you do in a workout. I just listened to my body. I wasn't a bit of a dickhead with my weights. I just made sure I went in. I just moved a lot of the time. And then probably in the last 3 weeks, I actually just took it out completely just because I didn't have the energy to do it and I needed something a lot less stressful on the body. So yeah, again, just kind of listening to see, okay, was I going to recover from it? Although I loved it, I yeah just didn't have the energy for it, and that would just increase extra stress on the body. So yeah, we just took it out. So yeah,
Yeah, cool. I love seeing that you do, training that you enjoy on prep and you eat food that you enjoy on prep and you actually kind of live your life while you're on prep because you can see it
yeah,
being so consuming for some people.
100%, 100%.
So, what are your goals next for competing now that you have your pro card?
So I think I said like before the show, I said I was like this will be my last show for a while, mainly just to focus on business and life. But then this kind of changed things. So getting the pro card did change kind of like what my next steps are kind of thinking. Um, I obviously there is a pro show here in the Gold Coast, or like here in Australia, so the Gold Coast in October. But for me, it is just a little bit too close. I want my body to recover. I want to make sure that I am in an optimal state to come into a next prep. So I'll probably look at potentially towards the end of next year. But in saying that, I obviously do have to come back to my life, my business, and things like that. So I'm not making any promises because it just depends on where life is at. If business needs me, then business needs me. But I would love to, yeah, prep for like mid to the end of next year if all things go well. So, yeah.
Yeah, stay tuned. Very
Yeah,
exciting.
literally, stay tuned. I don't know. So,
And so this one's my favorite question that I've asked a few of our guests. What's the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
oh, that is a tough one. The best piece of advice, as in like for competing or
Just
in general,
anything, the first thing that pops
anything.
into mind.
Oh gosh, two things actually. First one is have purpose. You need to have purpose. When one thing kind of finishes, make sure you kind of align the next thing. So purpose is super important. So that kind of comes into goal setting a little bit, but just make sure you have some form of purpose in life. If you don't, we can often feel really lost at times. So making sure that, yeah, have something to look forward to, or even if you don't have something to look forward to, like find purpose in your life just in some way. And then the second thing my dad always tells me, you never, oh, what was it? It's you never waste time or you never fail at anything, you always learn. So no matter everything that you do, you're always learning. Whether you, I don't know, stuff up in something, take it as a learning curve. So perspective is super important. So if you think about things rather than, oh, life is throwing shit my way, then okay, what did I learn from that? And then we can kind of walk away and be like, oh, you know what? I actually did learn something from that. So nothing is ever a waste of time. You always learn.
Yes, I absolutely love that. And sometimes it is hard to see that in the time when you're going through something tough, but when you look
Yes.
back, you'll notice how much you've learned.
Yeah. 100%.
Alrighty, we do have a few listener questions from Instagram, so I'll just pull those
Cool.
up. How do you compare your experiences from your first to your third show?
Ooh, I think the more that you do it, the better you get at it. So like that's like anything. Practice when you do things, you get a little bit better at it. You kind of understand how things go and things like that. So again, it comes to like less stress, and then it comes to posing as well. Posing was a really big one. I I don't have any dancing background, and I actually envy a lot of the girls who have a dancing background, mainly because they just flow on stage, and I don't. My coordination sucks, so posing for me is really challenging. But the more times that you do it, and the more times that you're on stage, it gets freer. You kind of learn what you want to do. And actually, that's a bit of advice that I would give to someone is when you're on stage or anything to do with competing, don't try and be someone else. It's awkward. You can look up to people and admire other people, but you want to be authentic in yourself as well. So for me, things like just as simple as like jewelry. Like I'm not big on like the really big dangly earrings. I literally kind of I wore this on show day. I wore these. Nothing really changed. Again, like being authentic in yourself of like my hair is curly. I hate it straight. I hate anybody touching my hair. So I did it myself, and being authentic on stage for me, I'm the most confident in when I'm authentic. So, and that shows on stage. If you're trying to be somebody else, like because you see another competitor doing something or wearing something, and you're like, oh, I should be doing that, you'll probably feel that it's not you, and that shows. So yeah, being confident and authentic in yourself is super important.
Yes, I love that. Next question. What did you look forward to most post comp?
Oh, love this question. A lot of people are like, oh, like what food are you enjoying? And for me, it actually wasn't the food, it was actually the social setting. So obviously I said my sorry, the sun is like beaming in my eyes and it's like killing me, but anyway.
Feel free to move if you need to.
Oh, that's better. Oh, so much better. Um yeah, it was actually the experience post show. So post show, I wanted to make sure that we went out to a restaurant where we could have things in the middle. So with quality time, I love sharing meals. So when things are all in the middle and everyone's like picking at their own little things, so like you might have like pizzas or like little entrees in the center. For me, I love that. Like obviously the food is really nice, but I think the fact that we're all there as a family or as a group there, all picking at kind of like the same thing and sharing conversation. So just being present in that sense and being able to enjoy the same foods and like yeah, enjoy the same foods that everybody else is. Because like being from a Maltese background, like food is a big thing. So, and food and family is a big thing. So, yeah, being able to enjoy the same things that my family was, that was the biggest thing I was looking forward to.
Yeah, amazing. And last question, what are your tips for a successful reverse diet?
Oh, plan your reverse diet before the end of the show. So coming out of the show, you want to make sure that you've got a plan already. So I think one thing is obviously having a shifting goal. So obviously reverse diet still has the whole aesthetic type of goals, but to stick to a reverse diet, it can be challenging. Obviously, like the idea is to get out of a deficit and get to a healthy body fat percentage for overall health. But that can be challenging when you don't have that show, like a show date aligned. So there's more kind of room for slip up and things like that. So having a deeper why. So, okay, coming out of the show, yes, you want to make sure that you are getting to a healthy body fat percentage, but not putting too much body fat on. That's all good and well, but it's not really a deep why. It doesn't kind of hold us like anchored as such. So for me, ensuring that, okay, I want to make sure that I am sticking to my reverse diet, one, so I can have a successful prep for next time. I don't want to have to lose a whole heap of body fat just because I made little silly decisions. But then also like having things outside of like aesthetic goals. So, okay, I want to make sure that I can move healthily. I want to pour my energy into training. So, am I fueling for training or am I fueling just to satisfy a craving instantly? So, making sure that we still maintain those habits post show. I think a lot of the time people go post show and they lose their routine completely, and I think that's probably one of the biggest things where people lose it. To be honest, post show, I stuck to the same meals, mainly because I actually really enjoyed them, but also because it made me feel the best. Like it fueled my training, it worked to fuel my training post comp, so why wouldn't it work now? So yeah, having sticking to the routine, have the same routine, allowing for some flexibility here and there. So for me, I'm lucky enough that I still live at home and my mum cooks dinner, so just allowing calories for that. So that's nice to come back to, but everything else I'm in control of. I control my all my meals from breakfast to my afternoon snack, and then dinner is in mum's control, but then I'm also being mindful of what I'm eating, what mum cooks. So yeah,
Yeah, I love that. I couldn't have said those tips better. So,
amazing.
do you mind sharing a bit about your business and where the listeners can find a bit more about you and your business as well if they're interested in your services?
Yeah. So my Instagram is Courtney Muscat, and then my business page is Better You. So it's underscore BTR.U. Essentially, it is nutrition and training, also looking into the functional health side of things. So, making sure that with clients that we are going deeper. So, obviously, we've got the generic kind of markers of like how is sleep going, and it's kind of like that feedback. But then I go also a little bit deeper as well into if clients have blood work, then I will have a deep look into their blood work to make sure that there's nothing underlying that we kind of have missed, because often we kind of miss things. I think when we kind of give feedback back, we miss things. So yeah, going and looking at blood work to ensure that we aren't just kind of giving a band-aid fix to things, or actually ensuring that we are getting to the root cause of things. um, so yeah, essentially is all nutrition and training based. And to be honest, I like to keep things like really real on my socials. So yeah, I find it really hard to kind of get on socials, to be honest. I find it quite draining. So sometimes I'm quiet, sometimes I post a lot. Yeah, it's kind of hit and miss with me, to be honest. On my main page, you will see like a whole mix of different things. And my business page is obviously quite educational. I'm a big advocate for education. I think people, yeah, would would benefit so much just from like some form of education from a coach, so that they can walk away and don't need a coach eventually. That is literally my ultimate goal. But yeah, other than that, they're my two kind of socials. I use TikTok a bit, but again, I suck at it. So it's, yeah, don't jump on there. Just probably Instagram.
Yeah, amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Amazing. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a pleasure.